I'm always trying to mix it up at the channel. I like to do other than Nike and Adidas. They're the two brands that dominate a sneaker channel just because they dominate the sneaker world and they have the larger portion of the business. But then when you get other brands like Asics, like Reebok, like New Balance, I like to give them a shout out as well. And this is one of the shoes that I didn't know much about, but because I've had this channel and looked into them, it gave me a chance to sort of dig in there and find out more about this shoe. And it's a Reebok Question Mid. And I would say this is the third or fourth variant of the shoe that I've actually done for the channel, so I'm glad to learn more about a shoe I didn't know much about. It actually reminds me of a shoe I owned in the late 90s, early 90s, which was a Reebok, and it had that Hexalite air unit, you know, that you could see through to on the midsole. One of my favorite shoes of all time, actually. I was in my teens at the time, and it was a great, very, very comfortable shoe, but I destroyed it by misusing it. So, but I do love to bring you this kind of content. I'm very happy to bring you this shoe, but there were three different shoes that I could choose from, and I wasn't sure which one I was going to go for. And in the end, I went for these guys. There was the alternate 76ers, and then there was also another alternate. I can't remember what it was called. And I was trying to toss it up between the two. I think it was alternate Sonics. And then these guys here, of course, the yellow toes. I was choosing between those three, and I decided to go with these ones. So forgive me if you were looking for those 76ers alternates or Sonics alternates, but it's the yellow toe that I've gone for. And that's what we're going to take a look at today as we get into this video, and a close-up look at the Reebok Question Mid yellow toe. This is the Tokyo Bada 23 Sneaker Channel. Tokyo Bada 23 Sneaker Channelです。毎日アップするので毎日見てください. And every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And today is the upcoming release of a Question Mid on November the 28th. Yellow toe, and as it says, it does exactly what it says on the tin. It's got a yellow toe. But that isn't a feature in this video at all today. I don't really discuss that at all because it's not what I think of as a shoe. And to be honest, I think the main thing that holds this shoe together is the little tiny hits of purple rather than the yellow itself, which is the name of the shoe, which is kind of strange, but it's just the way I call it and the way I see it. So I want to go through the shoe with you guys today and look at all the features on it. There's a little sort of link to an Air Max 95 as well, a video that I did maybe 2 weeks ago, which I was thinking about Reebok Question Mids when I made that, and a few other things going on as well. So without further ado, let's get into this and talk about all the details on this shoe that makes it very, very cool. And like I said, it's a lot to do with that purple outline that gives it a little bit of definition. Maybe yellow on white is too bright and too light, and the purple outline gives it that contrast to help hold the shoe together. And a good way to look at that, I think, you know what I think I'll do is I think I'll go top to bottom. So let's start up on the tongues and looking down onto the tongues. One of my favorite things about the Question Mid is the offset tongue branding on there. I think it's very, very cool. So it's a white tongue. You've got the yellow branding on there, and that yellow branding is outlined in purple. So it's a perfect place to start and to talk about how that purple makes it happen. And without that, you can be sure that the yellow would just sort of soak into the white and it wouldn't look as good as this. So A, the offset Reebok branding on the tongue, and B, the purple outline are the two things to look at there and get that idea of how this shoe works. So starting there and then moving down, we come to this feature that I was talking about, the Air Max 95s. And what I was talking about was their Halloween shoe this year. It's called the Freddy Krueger from the Nightmare on Elm Street series. And what I was thinking about was I have a pair of Air Max 95s called the Mount Fuji's or Obsidian Blue, depending on where you are in the world. And they have the same sort of system of lacing as these guys do here. And what I'm talking about, and this is the feature on the shoe that's worth looking at, as you can see if you run down the lacing system on the lateral side, it spells out the word Reebok, purple on yellow with the white background. So that purple and yellow motif in the ghillie lacing system that runs down the length of these shoes with Reebok spelled out. And what I was thinking for the Freddy Kruegers, they could have spelled out Freddy, F-R-E-D-D-Y, down the side of those shoes, and they didn't. It was a very plain kind of ghillie lacing system, and I felt it was a miss on those shoes. So and that's why I was thinking about a Reebok Question Mid while I was making an Air Max 95 video. But you can see they've retained that on these shoes, of course. I think it's a signature feature to have the Reebok spelled out down the lacing system like that. Purple on yellow background looks very, very good. And then on the medial side, they don't sort of overdo it by having it again. What they have on the medial side is just 6 sort of hits of the branding detail, but again, purple on yellow, and it works really, really nicely. And it's the little details like that I think that make the question mid a really fine shoe. And then coming down from that, let's like I said, we're going top to bottom. I'll go to the midsole, not the midsole, the midfoot on the lateral side first, and you see how white this shoe is, which helps that yellow branding in the middle that has the purple outline stand out. And again, without that purple, it wouldn't work. The yellow would just soak into the white. And if we flip over to the medial side, it's almost identical to the lateral side. Very white, very yellow branding, and then that purple outline to give it some kind of definition. And there's a lot of balance between the medial and the lateral sides of the shoe, and we'll get into that in the midsole in a minute. But before we do that, I want to go around to the heel of the shoe and look at a couple of details on there. This is the only place on the shoe where you get purple on yellow instead of having a bit of white in there. If you think about that midfoot area, if you think about the tongues, it's yellow with purple outline on white. But then here we are in the back with purple on yellow, and I'm talking about up high, that Reebok branding up there, and especially the way they use the Reebok branding at the corner edge of that circle. What you're looking at is a cue to go with the question mids, and it's very neat design, and it's really nice that they kind of depart from the rest of the shoe in design with that purple on yellow background. And then if we drop down from that, you get to the three below, which is also a similar sort of takeaway with the purple group three on a yellow background, and the white is nowhere to be seen in either of those two branding places. And it's that contrast, I think, that works. It really makes it for a nice shoe. And then the second last thing to look at is the midsole, very unique, and this is that hexalite that I was talking about, the pair of shoes I had when I was in my late teens. They were a low, they weren't a mid like these or a high, and they didn't have as much sort of cushioning on them as these do. I would guess my pair of shoes were like something like 92 or 93, whereas these guys probably came along in something like 97 or 98 for their first drop. And looking at the midsole on the lateral side, you can see the two honeycomb units front and back, and those honeycomb units are in yellow with a purple outline. I think I'm right in saying there's definitely yellow and purple going on. I think it's yellow with the purple outline front and back. But if we flip it out to the musical side, to the medial side, you see exactly the same feature front and back, the hexalite units again. And it's these kind of little details. Again, it's that purple outline that makes the difference, because if it was just yellow, we'd be lost in a sea of brightness and sort of very pastel colors. But the bit of purple in there brings us back and gives us a focal point. You can see, like I said before, the medial side and the lateral sides are very, very similar on this shoe. And then if we go to the outsole, have a flip upside down, have a look at this guy. It's mostly yellow. To go with the the motif from above, and it is the yellow toe shoe. You've got very neat branding towards the front of the shoe, where you have Reebok in purple, which has got a great bit of definition to it. It's got a semi-translucent effect that looks through to some detailing underneath, and then as you travel all the way to the back of the shoe, you've got a missing segment that is sort of bordered in white. So the three main colours of the shoe, the poppy yellow, and then the detailing of purple and white, even on the outsole, gives you that kind of definition and continues the sort of narrative of the shoe from above. And then coming back up, looking at the whole shoe, hopefully I've been able to walk you through all the details on it and give you an idea of the places to look. I think the big thing for me is with the question is I'm always just looking at that lacing system. I'm always really interested in the way they have the Reebok spelled out down the laces, and it's one of my favourite details on the shoe. One of my favourite things to have learned about the shoe as I've looked at it over time. And maybe I should talk a bit about the shoe's owner, if you like, Allen Iverson, one of the greatest basketball players of all time. And here I am just talking about his shoe without actually mentioning the great man himself. A lot of people consider him to be maybe even top 5 basketball players of all time. Definitely kind of top 5 in that sleeky, kind of smooth, gliding across the floor kind of guy. So the Allen Iverson Reebok question mid yellow toe coming at you. Like I said, it's on November the 28th, but there's also dropping around about the same time a couple of alternates, the alternate Sonics and the alternate 76ers. But of the three, I went with this one. It's a shoe I know more about than the other two, and it's the shoe that I'm kind of most interested in, especially that little detail of the purple outline, giving it a little bit more pop that you maybe wouldn't have seen if they hadn't put it on it. So it's the small details that make the big differences in the Reebok question mid yellow toe. Okay, that's enough for me today. Hope you guys enjoy the content. I appreciate it. Like I said, doing Reeboks is something I try to do at the channel. Like, even though I know the main focus of the sneaker world is Nike and then Adidas, and Reebok comes in a poor third or lower on the list, but that doesn't stop me doing the videos about it because I think it's important to balance it out across as many brands as possible. And that also tells you that my channel isn't sponsored by anyone, because if it was, I'd be focusing on their shoes all the time and not something like a Reebok. But then again, maybe someone like Atmos would sponsor my channel, and then we can look at the shoes that they would let me borrow from time to time. Okay. Like I said, time to sign off. Thank you guys for checking out the content. The only thing for me to do at the end of the video is to tell you that I do this every single day. And because I do it every single day, that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.